Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 165 of the show, and before we get started, I'm going to do a little bit of house clearing quick because, well, you guys know we like to do it around here, and it only makes sense that we do it, so let's get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode, whether you're listening to the audio version or, well, okay, technically you're still listening to the audio version whether you watch the one on YouTube because, well, technical difficulties because, lol, my camera likes to screw with me because lovely, right? But I do say thank you guys for coming back and watching or listening to today's episode. It really does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly keep downloading these episodes. You keep sharing these episodes. You constantly keep letting me know how you feel. And it really does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly keep letting me know how you feel because that's a great way of letting me know if I'm doing a good job, if I can improve, or, hey, I downright suck. So I greatly appreciate that. You know, because granted, whether you leave reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, which, you know, we did get a 1-star review on Apple Podcasts, but that was because it was from a troll. But, you know, trolls are trolls, so what are you going to do about it? But I do also want to say thank you guys, because it really does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly keep supporting me, and you guys constantly keep coming back and keep listening to episodes, because, you know, I have to be doing something right if you guys are that interested in listening to me, so I really appreciate it. But I also want to say thank you guys for helping us hit over 2,200 total downloads. It really means a lot to me. We're actually close to 2,300 total downloads. So hopefully the goal can be reached of hitting 3,000 by the end of the year. But, you know, we just have to wait and see. Aside from that, I also want to say thank you to the Patreon backers. Again, you guys are great and lovely individuals, and I love you guys to death. Obviously, if you want to become a Patreon backer, you can click the link down below and, you know, become a Patreon backer. You can either become a $2 backer and just support me and get access to the Discord, or you can become a $5 backer and get access to the Discord, but you also get the episodes early, so you get nice little benefits. You know, that's really up to you what you guys want to do with that. But I do also want to say thank you. I know you guys have been very patient with me. I know we've only been doing one episode a week, mainly because, as I mentioned, school is my number one priority, and just making sure that everything is good for school is really what I care about the most, is making sure things are good with school. And during the summer, it's going to be a bit interesting too, especially because I will have an internship lined up. So we're going to have to see how that works. But I really do appreciate all the love and support. It really does mean a lot to me, guys. I really appreciate it. And I love you guys to death. You guys are awesome. And mwah, you guys are chef's kiss. You know, 10 out of 10. Couldn't trade you guys for the world. However, it is time that we get on with today's episode because we got a lot to talk about. And what I'm mainly going to be talking about is the Nintendo Switch. And this is going to ruffle a couple people's feathers because a lot of people like the Switch. I like the Switch. I've been using my Switch a little bit more now. But this doesn't mean that we can't present the question, is the Switch dead? Because think about it, the Switch has been out for a couple years now. And given the current state of gaming right now, the fact that it is the weakest link of the bunch is not a good thing. Yes, it's still getting games. Yes, it's still popular. It's still selling well. You know, with the launch of Monster Hunter Rise, which I bought it and I'm really enjoying it so far. But I will say that it's one of those examples where it makes you question if the Switch is actually dead. And, you know, and it mainly can come down to many factors. But I do want to talk about some of these today and present the question. Because people have asked me, they're like, Josh, is it worth buying the Switch right now? Yes, it has a great game catalog. But if we're talking about actual performance and running games, it is the weakest link, and it's kind of sad when smartphones are able to do a better job than the Switch at handling games. And yes, I know some people will say, well, Josh, you can't say that because the Switch is a dedicated console, smartphones are not. But it's like, well, if you look at the point that we're getting at with smartphones and the chips that they're using inside of these suckers, yeah, I do think the Switch is a bit behind. And this mainly comes down to the whole performance argument that people have with the Switch, because yes, it is great that you can take games on the go, but now that we're getting more intensive games like Monster Hunter Rise and the soon to be released Pokemon Arceus, it really makes you question, is the Switch really all that? Like, it makes you question, like, do we really need a Switch Pro at this point? Because I know people talk about the Switch Pro. It's like the elusive thing that everyone's like, ooh, when are we going to get it? And yes, I'm going to be dead honest with you. If it happens, or when it happens, I would say is probably the better term to use. When it happens, I will buy one 100%. No cap. I'm going to go out and buy one day one, because I'm one of those people where it's like, yes, I like my Switch. I like my game catalog on my Switch, but I do believe that we need more performance, because it doesn't make sense that a smartphone can run a lot of our games much better than a Switch can. And with the release of Monster Hunter Rise, especially with the whole experience, that we should agree that 60 FPS gaming should be the bare minimum, or it should be at least a standard right now, like the minimum standard for every console that comes out, that it should be able to run everything at 60 FPS with no issues and no compromises. It really makes you think like, hey, I think we really need the Switch Pro, because it really needs a power upgrade, especially when we're trying. I get that people say Nintendo doesn't want to compete with the Xbox and the PlayStation. That's not their market. However, I'm willing to argue that it doesn't matter in that sense, if you get what I'm saying. It doesn't matter that Nintendo doesn't want to compete. They're still your competition regardless, and your competition is pumping out powerful consoles that are rivaling mid to high-end gaming PCs, realistically. Like, that's a fair assessment. I think this has already been, addressed, that yes, these consoles are definitely competing with mid to high-end gaming PCs, not low-end PCs. You're clearly delusional if you think low-end. But the fact that the Switch is falling behind, and yet they're releasing all these graphically intensive games and games that require a lot of power, it really makes you think, hey, I think we do need the Switch Pro, because without it, the Switch is kind of dead. And a prime example would be Monster Hunter Rise, where a lot of people are concerned that the game will not run the best because of the Switch, that there's going to be input lag. There's going to be, input lag. There's going to be frame drops. Like, you're going to see these things happen. And I have yet to run into a lot of it, but clearly I've seen a lot of people talk about how, yes, there's definitely a big performance hit, that most people were preferably playing the console, not the console version, but they're more favoring towards playing a PC port of Monster Hunter Rise. Same thing with Monster Hunter World. Before the Series X and the PS5 came out, when people primarily like to play it on PC. Granted, yes, the problem with the PC ports with Monster Hunter specifically is that it gets, updates much, much later than the console versions. That's just objective fact. It always gets it super late. And that's the main thing people always had. And you can't transfer your stuff. So it's like, which makes sense because it's so far behind. I think if they would have made them as, hey, when the PC version comes out, it gets all the content updates, so it's just all up front, so then you can just jump right in or transfer your account and just play at a higher frame rate and higher, pixels per inch. If you, why don't I even call it pixel per inch? Let's just call it what it is. You want to play it at a better quality. It makes you really think. It's like, we really do need a Switch Pro. And a lot of people are holding out, because we even saw it from the reveal trailer of Pokemon Arceus. It was pretty rough. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys that it was pretty rough, especially when you saw the whole infamous Chingling thing. The Chingling that was like at 1 FPS. Oh my god, that was so bad. But it really makes you think, like, yes, the Switch Pro is heavily needed in this market. And I get it. Like, we're currently dealing with a whole, there's currently a big chipset, what's it called? Drought. A whole chipset drought going on right now. So it's kind of hard to make new chipsets, or even get chipsets in general, for, products that we like new processors, new graphics cards, things like that. But I don't see why Nintendo doesn't release a Switch Pro when they know that, hey, it is needed, especially when you're pushing games that are really pushing the envelope going forward. Like, we have Breath of the Wild 2 coming out and things like that. Like, yes, the Switch in general is a great console. I'm not going to say that the Switch is terrible. I'm not going to say the Switch was a mistake, that it was bad. No, it is clearly a hit success for Nintendo, and they realize, hey, this is a very popular piece of hardware. We're not going to pretend like people don't want to buy this thing, because they clearly do. I would be delusional to say that people don't want to buy the Switch. I would honestly be dumb to say that. And I can objectively say that yes, the Switch is one of the best things Nintendo has made in a very long time. That it's clearly a runaway hit. That's an understatement to say the least, that it was a runaway hit. It clearly is one of the biggest successes that they've had in a very long time. And yes, a lot of great games have come out for the Switch. We had Mario Odyssey, we had Breath of the Wild, the original Breath of the Wild, which yes, I get it. It was originally meant for the Wii U, ported to the Switch. It was still game of the year. It was still one of the greatest games ever made. Mario Odyssey is a phenomenal game that came out. Obviously, we also got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ported over. It runs flawlessly on the Switch. It's beautiful. And then, yeah, I know some people say Pokemon Sword and Shield. Yes, we acknowledge it. Not the best, but it happened. And yeah, we got Monster Hunter Rise now. And then we have all these other good games coming too. Like we have Metroid Prime 4. We have Bayonetta 3. We have the next Pokemon games coming, like Diamond and Pearl remakes, Pokemon Arceus. And those look great. It's just, if you're going to start pushing the envelope with the games you want to make, you need power to back it up. Because without it, it's just like, what the hell, man? Like what are you supposed to do? And it's just one of those things where I really question if Nintendo is still going to be stubborn and be like, look, we're not going to compete. We don't believe in competing because that's not our place. And I'm like, well, no, you're a company that is focused on providing games to consumers. Your consumers are constantly asking for more power because they realize, hey, your base console is not the best. Like I know the Switch Lite, because a lot of people preferred more of the handheld design, to replace mainly the 3DS, because that's the whole point, is that the 3DS was going to get replaced and it got phased out. And that's why the Switch Lite is now the handheld option. Then we have the regular Switch for people that want to play handheld or if they want to do docked. But I do believe that the Switch Pro should be primarily focused on dock, mainly a dock style. Like I know some people talked about the whole idea of, putting all the power into a new dock so that people can just take their, current Switches, buy a new dock, and boom, Switch Pro. But I know some people were arguing that the architecture of the Switch doesn't really support that and that it wouldn't make much sense for Nintendo to do that. However, I want to always use this example because it's the closest example I've had, was like the Microsoft Surface Book, the original Surface Book, where the display had a lot of hardware, a lot of specs, but then they also made a keyboard that also had more specs inside of it. So when you put them together, you would get a combination and bam, you would get all this power. And I thought in my mind, well, what if Nintendo did that with the Switch Pro? What if they, kept the internals of the Switch, like, the normal Switch that we have now, but make a new dock that has more processing power built into it? Yes, it'd probably be bigger, probably have a fan and shit like that. But making it do that would be a smart idea, because then you don't have to worry about people saying, oh, I just bought my limited edition Switch and now there's a Switch Pro and it's outdated. And it's like, no, you can just buy a new dock. Yeah, it's probably going to be a pretty expensive dock. I would say over $100 easy, to get more performance, to get stable frame rates, to get 4K if you want that. Because that's one of the things people talked about with the rumored Switch Pro is 4K. And that's one thing people want, is they want 4K. Do I really care about 4K? Not really, especially in terms of Switch games. I'd rather get a solid 60 FPS in handheld and a solid 60 FPS in docked mode. I think that's the most important. So getting it up to that point of 60 FPS consistently the whole time, or locked at 60, is an absolute win. And I think that should be the main point of contention with the Switch, is getting it to 60 FPS. Like, the Switch should not care about 4K. Like, I get it. A lot of people really want it because the Xbox and the PS5 can do 4K 60 or 4K 120 or, the illustrious 8K. But you get what I'm saying? Like, it makes sense that Nintendo, yes, if they really don't care about competing, that's fine and dandy. But you really should get 60 FPS for sure, because there's games that developers are just straight up said, it will not run on the Switch. We have tried. Look at Apex Legends. They put it on the Switch and it runs like absolute dog crap. Like, that's not even a debate. It runs like straight dog crap. It's not even funny. And I know a lot of people get mad. They're going to be like, Josh, you're such a hater. You're a Nintendo hater. Why do you hate Nintendo so bad? I'm like, no, I don't hate them. If I really hated Nintendo, do you honest to God think I would go out of my way and buy Monster Hunter Rise on my Switch that I have not even touched in at least 3 months. You know what I mean? And now I'm playing it more because I got Monster Hunter Rise. And yes, I'm currently dealing with the whole performance limitations because, you know, I used to play Monster Hunter World on my Xbox One S, and we made it work, and the One S wasn't the most powerful console. Like, now I have the Series X, and of course it's going to run the game at 60 FPS or even at 120 if I want to. Like, it's going to run it flawlessly with no issues, and I'm going to have fun doing it. But I do believe that the Switch is in a weird spot right now because I don't recommend people buying it. Like, yes, it has a great game catalog, but I do believe with the whole imminent, not threat, but the imminent release of a Switch Pro or an announcement makes people pretty hesitant to buy a new Switch because it doesn't make much sense. Like, yes, if you never had a Switch before, yes, if you don't really care and you want to buy one of the special editions like the Animal Crossing Horizon one or New Horizon, that one was a very beautiful Switch, or the Monster Hunter Rise one, which, it's such a beautiful Switch, or the Diablo one, or whichever one you want to buy. I do believe that if you really care about performance, I would say wait and see what happens, because Nintendo's making a lot of games that a lot of people are saying like, hey, we need a Switch Pro. Like, I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, or that, you know, they just sound like we're beating a dead horse, but there's a lot of games coming that are going to need more power whether you like it or not, and some quality of life improvements. Like, for God's sake, put Bluetooth into the damn thing. Like, isn't that hard? Like, I'm not even being mean. Is that asking too much? Like, the fact that I have to buy an adapter to like basically to use my Bluetooth headphones on the Switch, the fact that I can't even plug in headphones straight into the controller, which makes more logical sense. Like, okay, I don't care about the game. I know I'm going to go into a rant. I don't care about the game chat function. I really don't give a rat's ass. All I care about is being able to hear my games. I know some people say, well, Josh, that's why you plug it into a TV. Dude, I live in a college dorm room. I have a monitor. I don't have a TV, and I'm not just going to buy a TV just so I can hear the audio of my Switch. No, if I want to use my headphones, I want to use my damn headphones, and I don't want to have to deal with buying an adapter to use my headphones when every single other smart device I own has Bluetooth built into it. And you mean to tell me Nintendo couldn't put one in there? Like, guys, come on. Like, cut the bullshit out of here, man. I don't want to hear this shit. I know some people say, well, Josh, you don't get on Microsoft and them for that stuff. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, the difference is with Microsoft, they actually put in a damn thing, a codecs inside of it for working with their shit. Like, their controllers, they all have Bluetooth built into them. Like, think about this. It has Bluetooth built into it. I can use an Xbox controller with my PC with no issues. I don't even have to buy the adapter. I have it just because it uses the whole Microsoft wireless codecs. And same thing with my SteelSeries Arctis 9s. They have the codec, so it just automatically connects to my Xbox and powers it on, powers it off. But you mean to tell me Nintendo, of all people, couldn't think of putting a Bluetooth chip inside of the Switch so that we could use Bluetooth headphones? Knowing that, yes, I get it. Some people like to use wired headphones, and that's perfectly dandy. But I'm like, dude, come on, just give me the option. Like, it's crazy that I have to buy a third-party adapter to use Bluetooth headphones on my Switch because I want to, you know, God forbid, I want to hear the audio of my game. Because even when you plug it into the top of the Switch, like, I've noticed it, like, it's kind of janky sometimes. Like, it's not the best connection, even with wired headphones. So it's just one of those things where I'm just like, ugh, really, Nintendo? Like, you guys really had to be that stingy. Like, I feel like this is something that they could address in the Pro, and I think a lot of people will probably ask them if it really is a dock upgrade. You got what I mean? Like, it only makes sense that we get, you know, Bluetooth, we get more performance, we get a lot of these features that people have really been wanting for a long time, and it only makes sense. Do I think the Switch is dead, though? I would say no, but I will agree that it's in a weird spot right now. That it's not in a spot where I can automatically recommend you buy a Switch unless you really, really don't give a rat's ass about performance. If you do, though, which, let's be honest, you can definitely tell the difference between like 30 FPS and 60. That's a clear difference. You can definitely tell it. And if you tell me you can't see it, I will literally call you delusional, because that is clear as day, crystal clear. You can see a difference. However, I don't think the Switch is dead. I do think that the Switch is in a particular spot where it's much more difficult to recommend, especially with the possible announcement of the Switch Pro. Because the reality is with the Switch Pro, we don't know if they're going to do a new dock. We don't know if they're going to make a whole new Switch in general. But I will tell you this, me and my friends, when it gets announced or when pre-orders go up, we're going to buy the damn hoe. We're going to wake up early and we're going to buy it. Like, we really care that much. Like, a lot of people really care about their performance because they really like the Switch. They like the idea behind it. They really need it to have more juice, and they want it to have more juice because it has so many great games that would be so much better if you were able to play them at higher frame rates or play them at higher fidelity and higher graphics quality, because there's a lot of great games, guys, on the Switch. The Switch has an amazing library so far. Is it perfect? No. Is it as good as the 3DS library? Hell no. The 3DS was legendary for its library. Let's be honest here. The 3DS has a legendary library that is really difficult to compete with. There's a lot of great games on the DS, specifically the 3DS. But you get what I'm getting at. If you care about performance, I would say, yeah, the regular Switch is kind of dead in the water for you because it doesn't matter that much. But if the Switch Pro comes out and we definitely see huge improvements, which I wouldn't be surprised. The Switch came out in what, 2018? It came out 2018. So it's been like 3 years now, like almost 3 years. It only makes sense that, guys, 3 years is going to make a pretty big difference for a new console. Let's be honest here. If the Xbox can go from the One X to the Xbox Series X in that little of a time jump, I think we can definitely see something crazy happen with the Switch. But what do you guys think in the comment section down below? Let me know. Well, obviously, let me know in the comment section down below. You can either hit the like or dislike button to let me know if you liked the episode, you didn't like the episode. If you're listening to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review of the show, leave a review of the episode, and let me know what you guys think. Oh my God. But in the end, it's definitely a very interesting thing. Not gonna lie. But I really did have fun talking about this because this is something that's been on my mind for a while. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about it because I felt like it was fair. You guys, you guys are my audience. You guys constantly listen to me. And you guys also voted for it. So, I have to respond to what the people ask for. But I do greatly appreciate you guys. I greatly appreciate everything you guys do. You guys are great. You guys are lovely. And I love you guys to absolute death. I hope you guys enjoy. Please have yourselves a wonderful weekend. This is Easter weekend or Resurrection Sunday for those that are believers. Have a great time with your family. Have a great time with your friends. Constantly be safe. Don't do anything dumb. And just have a good time. Enjoy your time with your family. Enjoy your time with your friends. Try to be safe in the process, or at least as safe as possible. Be respectful and mindful of the others around you because you just don't know how people are going to react, or, it's just best to play on the side of caution and just be mindful and respectful of everyone around you because that's what makes a difference in the world. But I greatly do appreciate all you guys do. And I hope you guys enjoy your week and enjoy your weekend. But until next time, guys, I love you guys to death. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I know I keep saying that a lot, but I really do mean it. But take care, guys. I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.